Good morning, teacher. Name is Francisco Chassi, and today we will be reviewing my Java program. I will try to explain as much as I can what I have done and how is the application works. Ah, Before starting, I want to say what we are working with. We're working with two Java classes from two different projects. The sender that is going to be like the client in this formation and is going to send uh, the containing text from a text file to the other class, the receiver class. And the receiver will read line by line what it is sent from the sender class. Now, before starting, there are three things that I think it's important to know before trying to run this program. First of all, to run this program, you need to run first the receiver, that is going to be the server, because if you try to run first the sender and then the receiver, there might be a problem where the sender won't find the receiver and the data from the socket won't find someone that is listening, and the data will be lost. I won't be able to continue the code. The second thing is that in the sender, when you are creating the socket, the IP address, the public IP, the local IP address is get with the init address Java class. So when you try to run this for the first time, you might get a special authorization for Java to get this type of data that is usually confidential unless you give it a special permission. And, and the third one is that the sender must have an argument with the path of the file you want to read. It has exceptions, exception no, cases if there is no arguments or if it's a bad argument. But let's try to avoid that, okay? Uh, First of all, the way it, it goes, we start first the receiver, and it will show the message that the receiver has started. Go here as Java application, receiver start. It will create the socket from the server and will assign the port. We are going to be working with the port 5000. I know you said you don't like to put in hard code the port inside of the code, but for the sake of this exercise, I have done it like this way. I think it would be better if I could, for example, select to what port I want to work inside the arguments, but I'm going to be doing it directly with the 5000. Okay, it creates the socket server, and then it will create a second socket that will be the client, and it will be waiting. It will be listening. It will be stopped in here until it receives something from the sender. As you can see, it only reads the receiver started and it hasn't doing anything yet. So we are okay in here. Nothing has happened. Now, if when I want to run this, this is a constructor of the class sender that receives as a parameter the name of the file, the path of the file we want to know. I have to do it the file name to know better for myself, but it is really the path of the file we want to read. It will be received as a argument, no, it's receiver, and it's going to enter inside the main. Inside the main, it will check first that the argument is not empty. If it is empty, it will show a message that there are no arguments on the parameters. Please write the path of the file you want to read. And we at the end show that you will be closing the sender application. If the length is not empty, is higher than 0, it will then check with a method that will read the first parameter and will be creating a file with this, and it's going to return true if the file exists and it can be readable, or false if the file doesn't exist. If it does exist, it will create a new sender using the first argument as a parameter. If the file doesn't exist, it will show the file, the name of the file does not exist. Please use a valid file name. And we exit the app. Now, when it creates the new app sender, it enters in here. It will say the sender has started. It will create, as I said before, the address of the current PC you are using to create the socket. We use your address and the port 5000. If now here the socket will try to connect to that port. If it exists, it will show a message that it is connected. If it, in the case the receiver is the server or receiver is have not started, it will go to this exception where we say that it has happened an error inside the sender, and the most probable thing that could have happened is that the server is not initialized, or that the IP host or port is wrong and is not active or listening to anything. In the case, let's say it does exist, then it will say it's connected, it will show it in the console, and then we will create a new data output stream to get the output stream of this socket, of the socket client or sender. We will create a new file with the received argument from the start, file name, and we will create a buffer reader to read the file of that path. We will create a new string, a line, where every time we are going to be reading the content of this file, it will be line by line. We will assign the string line to what it's going to be reading from the input, and it will enter this while. When the line that it's reading gets to the final, there is nothing more to read, it will be null, then it will get out of the while and keep it here. While there is still things inside, and okay, I want to explain this a little bit later. Let's concentrate on this. We have a line that we want to read from the file. Then it will write on the data output stream that goes to the client, that goes to the to the receiver, the server, and it is write in UTF the line that is reading from the file. Then it flush whatever it is on the output stream so that we can have enough buffer to keep going. Then the thread will sleep for 1 second so that it could have time to do every line 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. It has enough time. This will continue until there are no more lines to read. It will get out of the while and write end. This end, when it is read, it is read in the receiver, it's going to say the program that there is no more lines to read, that it has reached the last character of inside the file, and it will not continue to read. Now, why do I wanted to explain this later? Because there is the possibility that inside the text file there is the word end alone, just like this. And if this reads end and send it over here, this will read the end and will think that it is already finished. But there is a chance that it is not finished, it's not the end. And it will give an error to the sender. So this is only one case, the case that the next line, that when it's not null, there is things to read, and it reads end alone. It will do the same, it will write the end, but with a blank space to avoid the confirmation from the receiver that it is end and it is the end of the program and it should not read. And it will continue normally. Okay? This is to send from sender to receiver. Now we go to the receiver. Once it is connected, this won't be on pause anymore. This will continue the program. It's going to appear sender connection accepted receiving the text. Okay, and we create a data input stream to receive from the sender, data from the sender. While this is something that I would like to know if there is a way better to do. I'm doing an infinite loop with while true. I was trying to do something with like where when if there is still lines to read, if there is no more line to read, that it exits el bucle. But I wasn't able to find a way to do it different than using this. But well, while this is true, infinite loop, it will be reading on the string readed line what is coming from the data input, from the socket's data input, and it will be reading. And compares if the read text is equal to n. If it is n, it means that it's the end of the text file and there are no more things to read. And it will show end of text and get out of the infinite loop. If not, then it will just show the read line and will continue until it gets out of the while. And finally, all the streams that were open are closed. Shows a message, transmission ended, and exceptions. And over here the same. Text file sent successfully and close the streams. Okay. Now we will try to show it. The receiver is already started. that is another thing. I try to do a pause of the threads. I don't remember now. Just like the example we did in class, but the example we did in class was with packet, socket packet, with datagrams. Sorry, datagrams packet. So I didn't know how to use the weights inside this. So if the receiver won't have a time to time out. It will keep going. So I tried to implement it, but it didn't work, and well, and, and that's it. Now I'll try to show you the execution of the program. I already run the receiver. Now I'm going to the sender, and in configuration, it has the argument, the example text.txt. That is a text that I have inside the project if you want to use it for testing, or you can use your own path. It will be this. Using lorem ipsum, I generated some text. Now I execute it. Okay, it's connected. While it says it, the sender starts and says it's connected. While it is connected and is not doing anything else, it's because it is sending the content of the file to the receiver. And finally, when it is done sending all of the text, it will show text file sent successfully. It gets out of the class and goes to the main and says ending sender. Have a nice day. Now I'll go to the other console that shows the receiver. Okay, the receiver starts. It stays like this until the sender can connect to the receiver. Then it says sender connection accepted, receiving the text. It will read the whole text 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the end it's going to say end of text. Transmission ended, and then receive. I'm gonna do the same with the other two, but it's going to be the same. Argument text to apply. Oh no! I have started the sender without the receiver. Then it will say an exception that says there was an exception inside of the sender. Please check that the receiver or the server is initialized and that the IP host or port is not. That is true. This I have not gone through this yet. Okay, the receiver started. It is in here waiting for another socket to come. Go to sender, execute, says connected. It is connected to this, and it is sending the text file, the content of the text. It is a poem about programming, and the text sent successfully. I got to the other, and it says, okay, you got the text. And at the end of text, transmission ended, and the receiver. Now let's say that inside the sender, I mess up and say text that does not exist. There is no text file that is kind of like that. So I will apply. I will run the receiver. Receiver started. Go to the sender, and it say after seeing if this after checking if the file exists, it will say it does not exist. please use a valid finder. And it is the okay. Let's say we don't want we want from another, not just the name, I'm only using the name, but I want the path, the complete path. I will hit shift and right click, copy path, go to configurations, delete these little comillas, apply, and run. It is connected. Text files. I didn't. I was using. Sorry, I was using the